Welcome into another episode of Full Courtney Press. I'm your host, Courtney Mims, and we have the one, the only. You guys love this guy, and I get why, okay? Hall of Fame basketball coach Billy Mims joining me on the show. You guys know him as a Hall of Fame basketball coach. I know him as my dad. So I'm so glad he was able to give us some time today. And you're rocking some new threads, Dad. Look at those new threads. Oh, I love it. You look like you should be on the coaching staff over at Arkansas. Come on, Coach Cal, get this man on staff.
Let's give credit where credit is due. My future son-in-law, Jeff Goff, gave me this as a Christmas present, and I'm telling you, it is the most comfortable quarter zip coach's top that I've had in quite a while. So I'm rocking the Razorbacks. Certainly, after a big win like last night against Vanderbilt, why wouldn't I want to rock Razorbacks gear? You know, the Hogs were amazing. You and I watched them a few days ago lose in Athens, Georgia, against Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs. And that game was night and day from last night. They lost in Georgia for two reasons, Courtney.
Okay.
Two reasons. They have been shooting 39% behind the arc from three. One of the country's best three-point shooting teams this season. But in Athens, Georgia, the Hogs opened up the first half 1 for 7 behind the arc, 14%. That dug them a big hole, and they trailed by 13, 45-32 at the half. It didn't get any better in the second half shooting-wise. They were 4 for 14, 29% for the ball game. A team that shoots 39% from three shot a whopping 24% behind the arc. That's one reason they lost the game. And the second reason they lost the game, because they defended okay, not great, okay. For the ball game, Georgia shot 46%. That's much more than Coach Cal would want. Mm-hmm. So they weren't the best defensively they've been this year. But I'll tell you this. If you look at the intangibles that all coaches do, Arkansas dominated the paint. They won points in the paint at Georgia. They won second chance points at Georgia. They won fast break points at Georgia. They won bench scoring at Georgia.
Ooh.
What did they not win?
Was it turnovers?
Turnovers.
Was it points off turnovers? Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing about that stat. Both teams had about the same turnovers, 17, 18 turnovers. The difference was Arkansas's turnovers led to Georgia points. Georgia had 29 points from Arkansas turnovers. So the poor three-point shooting and the sloppy basketball turnovers that led to a lot of Bulldog points are the only two reasons they didn't get a big win on the road in Athens. But flip the script. Last night, they're at Bud Walton Arena. And I'm telling you, that has got to be one of the toughest places in the country for an opposing team to come in and get a road win. Right now, there are only two teams in the SEC, two teams undefeated at home on the season. You're affiliated with both.
That's crazy.
The Florida Gators, where you graduated,
yep,
and the Arkansas Razorbacks, who you now broadcast and work covering throughout the season. So Razorbacks and Gators might be the two best teams in the SEC right now.
Well, at least at home. And look, Coach Cal has even said it, Dad, right? Because it's like, great. We're great at home. And he said, I have two different teams. He walked in the press conference. He said, I have two different teams. Okay? I have one that plays here and plays the lights out of this building. And I have one that plays on the road. We just need to take the one that plays here and get it on the road in the SEC. And then we'll win a lot more games.
I think it's not the team. I think he needs to take the fans, those crazy, wild Razorback fans that are woo pigs swinging their butts off in Bud Walton Arena. If he could take the crowd from Bud Walton with him, his team would show up and play.
I agree with you. Let's talk about that Vanderbilt win, because you're exactly right. We talk about the tale of two teams, right? Arkansas playing on the road, going against Georgia. They dug themselves a hole early on. It was Georgia who from the jump went, this is our game, this is our ball game. So when you go up against a team like Vanderbilt, who, by the way, went into this game very hungry for a win. Vanderbilt has been talked about all season long as one of the best teams in the SEC. Before last week, they were undefeated on the year. They lost back-to-back games against Texas and Florida. And so they were not very happy because people were saying, okay, is Vanderbilt for real? Is Vanderbilt actually good? And so this is a team that was going, all right, let's go to Arkansas. Let's get a big win over Coach Cal and his Razorbacks. And you know they wanted it. They wanted it bad. And so a lot of people were going, man, Vanderbilt's a really good team. You look at the stats. Offensively, they're a high-powered offense. So one of the things Arkansas was going to have to do was slow down that offense. Well, I think they did a heck of a lot more than that. They whapped them. What are the adjectives? Thwomped them, whapped them, dominated them. We can go over the whole gambit, Dad. Yes, 93-68. I think at one point I looked up at the score and I went, oh my goodness, this is just a beating. And I mean, if we go up and down this stat sheet, what I like most about this game is that Coach Cal switched it up from the jump. I think a lot of us in the media, and I know you felt this way too a little bit when we chatted, is that Malik Thomas, he's proven he should start. Coach Cal was having him come off the bench, and he was playing, enough to be considered a starter, but he wasn't just starting the games. That was the only thing that really separated them. He was coming off the bench. Coach Cal switches it up. He gets Malik Thomas to start, and he gets DJ Wagner to come off the bench. What did you think about that decision, Dad? And do you think that's something that he should stick with?
Well, I think it was a great move on Cal's part, and you got to look back at it. They're coming into the game against the number 15 ranked team in the country. A team, as you said, that was 16-0 a week ago, and they've lost 2 games. Now they've lost 3 games in a row, okay? But to do that, I think Cal had to shake some things up. And there were 2 things I noticed that he did. In the shoot-around, I think the commentators for the game last night talked about being at the Arkansas shoot-around yesterday and what Cal was emphasizing. And he was emphasizing cut. He was emphasizing movement without the basketball. So what he did, when you look back at it, he inserted a big-time offensive player in Malik Thomas into the starting lineup, who's been playing starting minutes all season, but he's been doing it coming off the bench. Well, remember, we also said that at Georgia, the Hogs dug a big hole in the first half because they shot it so poorly. Flipped the script last night. And maybe it was the juggling the starting lineup, but Malik Thomas starts. Malik Thomas goes 3 for 5 behind the arc. Starts, gets 13 points, 3 out of 5 from 3. Darius Acuff Jr., 3 out of 7 from 3. And in the first half last night, when Arkansas built at one point a 20-point lead, and Courtney, I know Bud Walton is a big factor for them, but when Arkansas built a 20-point plus lead at any point in the game over the last, I believe, 7-8 seasons, they are 68-0. So when they build 20-point leads, the Arkansas Razorbacks don't blow those leads, okay? So they built a 20-point lead, but how did they do it? Shooting the basketball and moving without the basketball. So in the first half last night against Vanderbilt, Arkansas goes 7 for 13 from 3. Against Georgia, they were 1 for 7. Last night at home against Vanderbilt, 7 for 13, 54% behind the arc. In the second half, cooled down a little bit, didn't shoot it quite as well, but by then the game was pretty much over. They had won the game in the first half with a big lead. Another thing that I noticed about juggling the lineup, DJ Wagner came off the bench with 11 points. Malik came off the bench with 16 points. So they got, of Arkansas's 8 players that played the main minutes, they put in some kids in the last minute to play. But of the 8 players that played the bulk of the minutes of the game, Cal's 8-man rotation, 6 of those 8 players scored in double figures. On the flip side, a high-octane Vanderbilt offense. Now, Cal's team defended last night. They held Vanderbilt to 37% shooting for the ball game, and only 3 of Vanderbilt's players could muster enough offense to score double figures.
Yeah. And it was impressive to see. And we talk about a high-powered offense like Vanderbilt. That's what they needed to do. Coach Cal wanted to see his guys where that's been an area that they've been criticized for. This is an area Coach Cal said, thank goodness. Okay, you're doing what I needed you to do. I want to talk about, you mentioned Malik Thomas really quickly and being 3 for 5 from the arc. Did you see in that game where he had a Steph Curry moment? He shoots the 3, he gets the ball, he shoots that 3, he turns around before he even makes it, looks at that student section. Dad, that was so great. That was just,
Coach Cal has got possibly the best freshman backcourt in America. Okay,
maybe the best freshman backcourt.
Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff Jr. I've got some really good friends, in the NBA. The fans there better pack Bud Walton every night because they may not get to see the Darius Acuff Jr. show for long. Mm-mm. He could be Cal's next one and done. And I've been told by some of my good connections in the NBA that he's a lottery pick.
Oh, yeah.
He's good. So right now, he may not just be, a dominant player in the SEC. There are people saying right now that Darius Acuff Jr. might be a candidate for SEC Player of the Year.
Yes.
Had freshmen in the past that have been in that same situation. So he's coached some pretty good players in his time that were very, very big impact freshmen. Right now, Darius Acuff Jr. and Malik Thomas are doing that. Darius Acuff Jr. impresses me so much, not just because he can score the basketball. Last night, I was impressed with his passing just as much as his shooting. There were a couple of passes. You mentioned the Steph Curry moment for Malik Thomas, right?
Yeah.
I'm watching Darius Acuff look away and make no-look passes like throwing the ball through the eye of a needle to get to his teammate for an easy bucket in the paint. And he made a couple of those plays. It almost reminded me of watching playmakers like a Luka Doncic.
Wow.
Because he sees the floor so well, right? He's got great court vision. He's got great handles. He can shoot the ball. He can deliver the ball to open teammates. Darius Acuff Jr. affects the game in so many ways on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. Again, I think he may be a one and done. Enjoy him out in Fayetteville this season because next year he could be in the NBA. He could be a lottery pick, and he might just be the SEC Player of the Year.
I think you're 100% right. I don't think might should be in that phrase because I think he will. I think he is going to be a one and done. I think Malik Thomas is going to be a one and done as well. I think both of them have what it takes to be playing in the league. I mean, I was talking to somebody just the other day who, again, works with scouts all over and invites them here to come to Little Rock and see players and all of these. They're very connected with the NBA. And I was talking to them just the other day, and they said Darius Acuff, like you said, Dad, is so impressive because some of the things he does are just pure basketball, high IQ ability. It looks like he's been playing for years in college, and he's a freshman, and it's just insane to them to watch him. Watch him play. I think we're seeing somebody just amazing talent. Yes, I know you're going to add something there.
And Cal, I think Coach Cal he was a great choice for Darius Acuff Jr. because he has developed young players like Darius before, and he's honed them. Again, he's like when he was recruiting Darius, they were talking about it last night on the broadcast, that when he was recruiting Darius, he said, yeah, you're really good at this, but you know what? You need to improve this. So even though he's recruiting this kid who's going to be his best player this season, maybe the best player in the SEC, maybe the best freshman guard in America, and he's telling him already what you need to improve on. Also, I understand from a couple of good sources, When Darius was in high school, he was also a little difficult to coach. He was very, very talented, but he was told that maybe he was a little not as coachable as he could be. And now you see a complete switch there. And now you watch him and his relationship with Coach Cal as it's developing. I think it was a match made in heaven, right? A player who needed to grow up a little bit. All the talent on the planet, all the talent in the world, right? But needed to mature as a player. And you talk about his court vision, his basketball IQ, yes, his scoring ability, yes, all of those things were always there, but he needed to mature. And again, if you're going to be a one and done and go to the NBA, that maturation process has got to be real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're watching Darius Acuff Jr. go from a boy to a man under Coach Cal's direction, and it's happening very quickly.
And I want to say something to kind of hype up that point, because when even Coach Cal, I love this that he said this in the press conference. He's going through all the decisions he made in his opening statement, right? He's talking about Malik Thomas. He's talking about Carter Knox. He's talking about Trevin Brazile. He's going through Malik Ewing, and he gets to Darius, and he goes, Darius wasn't playing as well as he should have from the jump. It looked like he was going through the motions. And so Cal sits him. Cal says, all right, sit. And Darius gets kind of mad at him. Darius kind of like, so then he puts him back in and he plays a whole lot better. And Cal goes, it's because he was mad at me. And he got all, you're going to be mad that I'm mad at you. No, I'm not mad you're mad at me. If you play like that, be mad at me. That's great. Keep playing like that. But he said, I want you to stop thinking about being one of the best players, right, to come through Arkansas, one of the best players. I want you to play like the best player in the country, right? That's what I want you to do. And that's what I think, that's just coaching, right? He's saying, look, be mad at me. I'll take you out. I want you to be feisty, but I want you to play like I know you can, the best player in the country. And so you're not wrong by saying SEC Player of the Year. I mean, he's won SEC Freshman of the Week, 6 times now? And could go for a 7th or an 8th. I mean, goodness gracious, nobody else is going to win SEC Freshman of the Week. It's just going to be Darius Acuff all season long. I mean, he is just awesome. And somebody who's gotten a chance to talk to him, I do believe we are seeing him grow up, like you said. I do believe we're seeing a more composed player in the press conferences, and they are getting him ready. It's like all of these things are getting him ready to say, okay, you want to be a one and done? Well, we're going to get you the best place possible to be a one and done. That's why people want to play for Coach Cal. That's what they do. Really quickly, before we move on, I do want to talk about one final thing, kind of bigger picture, while I have you on, talking about the Charles Bediako situation, because I want to get your thoughts on that. But really quickly, before I let you go, or before we get to that topic and close this little chapter on what we're talking about with Vanderbilt and that win, where can this team, how do you get them from a coach, Dad? How do you get this team playing at the level that they were last night in Bud Walton Arena in the road in the SEC? I know you said you'd love to bottle the fans up, but how do you get them in that mindset mentality? They can do it. They've shown they can do it against some of the top teams in the SEC. Now, how do you get it on the road?
I think it is, again, that's part of the maturation process of a young team. You've got a freshman backcourt, but, when you go on the road, you have to start with that movement, player movement without the basketball. They weren't doing that at Georgia. They were stagnant, and their offense struggled. The shot struggled, the movement struggled, the ball movement struggled, the player movement struggled. They were stagnant. They dug themselves a deep hole. I think what you have to do when you go on the road is you have to understand that to win on the road, the game starts in the paint. And you got guys like Trevin Brazile, okay? I mean, he dominated the boards last night. Arkansas dominated Vanderbilt on the glass last night. That was another big reason they won the game and won big. Trevin had 14 rebounds himself, but he had a full game. He had 10 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocked shots. For my money, the man of the match last night was Trevin Brazil, because he did so much to help his team in steals, blocks, rebounds, points. He did it all, okay? And I think if you start when you're on the road, if you can start by getting Trevin involved early, getting Nick Pringle involved early, getting Malik Ewan. Malik Ewan came off the bench last night, 5 of 6 shooting, 6 of 8 at the free throw line, 16 points for a post player off the bench. They're getting great production from their inside guys, and they've got to find a way on the road to get those guys playing well early. If they are, it'll open up better looks from the perimeter. They won't have to force tough shots. Then they'll shoot it more comfortably. They'll shoot it at a higher clip. And once they get making those shots, I just think it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Early, if they made shots early against Georgia, they wouldn't have been. And secondly, you can't be sloppy on the road. You can't turn the ball over. Those points off turnovers on the road are just really hard to survive. So get the ball inside, get some better looks inside, create better looks from the perimeter because you are going inside, not be sloppy with the basketball. Control the ball, control your mistakes, handle the basketball like it matters.
Yeah.
No passes, execute your offense, move the basketball. Last night, one of the guys that I thought was doing a great job, Carter Knox.
Oh, yeah.
Of moving without the basketball. Early in the basketball game, he's on what we call in coaching a 45-degree angle. He's on the wing on the weak side. And as the ball would be driven along the baseline, that's the position that you get a great cut from. And Carter twice early in the ball game made that 45-degree cut from there, got a dunk once, got a layup once, hit a big 3 a moment later. And all of a sudden, early in the game, as Arkansas was building this lead, Carter Knox had stepped up with 7 early points in the ball game. He had a big game with 16 as well, 2 of 5 behind the arc, 6 of 9 shooting overall. I thought his movement without the ball are what helped him have a big night.
And I like what you're saying here, just to kind of wrap a bow on this. And I've said this before too, Dad, it's not just about one guy. It's not just about Darius Acuff having a great night or Malik Thomas having a great night. You look at that stat sheet and you can go, look at all the guys who contributed. Look at that. That is truly a complete win when you look at it. And that's what I think they're trying to do on the road as well, is get a complete game from everybody and not just 1 or 2 guys.
We mentioned this earlier on, right? That of the 8 players who played the bulk of the minutes, 6 of them scored in double figures, whereas Vanderbilt only had 3 in double figures.
Yeah.
Right? But let's look at one more stat that I know Coach Cal's got to be happy with.
Yeah.
Of the 8 players that played in the game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, 5 of the 8 had at least 3 assists in the ball game as well. 3 assists, 3 assists, 5 assists, 5 assists, 5 assists. If you look at that with Vanderbilt only had 1 player with 6 assists, right?
Yep.
Arkansas had 3 players with 5 assists.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt had 2 players with 3. Vanderbilt only had 3 players with 3 or more assists. Arkansas had 5.
Yeah.
So they got a complete game scoring the basketball, but they also got a complete game from a lot of guys creating those scoring opportunities for their teammates.
And that's something that he's been hyping up all season long. We go back to his great quote of, I'm going to have them go back to 8th grade stuff. Everyone has to touch the basketball 1 time, It's like, that's what he's been preaching. He's like, he loves seeing 25 assists from his team in a game. That is good. It goes back to movement, right? Not just movement without the ball, but movement with the ball as well. Okay, Dad, really, really quickly, because I do want to get your thoughts on this, and I know everybody does as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask the coach, the longtime college basketball coach, about this situation, because I know that I'm mad about it and I know other people are mad about it too, but I want to get your thoughts on it. So for everybody that doesn't know what everybody has been talking about today, you're not just having to face college players anymore. You have to face former NBA players now when you're in college basketball. And so what is happening is that the NCAA said no, that former Alabama player, Charles Bediako, who played in the G League, signed a two-way NBA contract. He was trying to sue and go back to Alabama and play, right? Well, the NCAA said, no, 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 no. So the courts get involved, okay? And so today, this is still ongoing, but today he was granted a temporary restraining order today, allowing him to do what? Return to the collegiate stage. Right now, he could play on Saturday. I think they play Tennessee on Saturday. Alabama plays Tennessee. That he can play. Now, after that game, we don't know because he has another hearing on January 27th. But right now, he's eligible to play. Dad, this is insane. This is insane. I'm going to say it right now. College basketball is cooked.
Well,
this is insane.
College athletics have made a huge change in the last couple of years, okay? And here's something that the general fan out there is sort of missing at the moment, right? There have been pros playing college basketball for quite some time, but generally the pros playing college basketball were Europeans.
Right.
Coming from Europe, and there is no real high school system in Europe. Mm-mm. So the best high school players in Europe are playing for professional clubs. And we can say, oh, well, they said they weren't getting paid by the club. Yeah. And Santa Claus is still delivering presents too. European kids have been pros for a long, long time. And when they come to the NCAA, trust me, they've already been playing games in EuroLeague, in the European Cup. So the NCAA started a couple of precedents recently, and it wasn't too long ago that a player for Baylor, European player for Baylor, was cleared to play for Baylor. So they'd already made the precedent right there saying, oh, wait a minute, well, we just cleared this European kid who has been a pro to play for Baylor. How can we say no to the kid at Alabama? You know, and yeah, okay, he's going to sue us, and rightly so, in my opinion, right? There's another thing to consider in all of this. He played in the G League.
Yeah.
But guess what? He makes more money playing for Alabama than he ever made in the G League.
Well, yeah.
Here's the other irony of it. College fans want to be purists and say, you can't go play pro and come back and play college if you have eligibility left. And I want to say the opposite. Why not? Because you know what? They're already pros now. Every kid, AJ DeBonsi for BYU is making $7-8 million this year to play basketball at BYU. There are a lot of guys in the NBA not making $8 million. Okay? So if you're paying college football and college basketball players more than the NFL and the NBA, and a kid is in the G League and not getting called up to the big boys and kind of squandering around there and making minimum salary, but he can go back to college and make millions, how can you say no to that if you're the NCAA? So problem is they've set some dangerous precedents. One, with the humongous amounts of money college players are making, they are pro.
Yeah.
If you're making $4 million, $5 million, $8 million to play in college, you are a pro. And I know the NCAA says it's not pay to play. It's name, image, and likeness. BS. Capital BS.
It's pay to play. It's pay to play.
The only reason they're getting name, image, and likeness money is because they're a great player. If they were a terrible player, nobody would want to pay for their name, image, and likeness. So they're pros already. They're pros from America. They're pros from international. And they're playing college sports, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. There are pros. They're getting paid a lot of money. Now, the question mark comes is that when you come back, do you have eligibility left? That is the question mark. And that is a simple thing. Coach Cowles talked a lot about it. If you got the right people around the table, you could come up with a system that would define this a lot better.
Yeah.
As to when you turn pro, do you forfeit the rest of your eligibility? Okay? That's the question here, right? Even though, okay, yeah, you've been getting pro money in college, if you actually go to the professional game, do you forfeit the rest of that eligibility? No one has defined that adequately yet, and therefore lawsuits are going to come.
Yeah.
And right now, trust me, it all started with a guy from Vanderbilt named Diego Pavia.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I give me another year of eligibility. Don't count my junior college days against me. Why? Because he was making more money at Vanderbilt than he could make in the NFL. So the amount of money these guys are getting paid has opened a can of worms. And let me tell you, my friends that work at the NCAA tell me right now on every front, they are afraid of lawsuits from student athletes and their parents.
Yeah.
They are more afraid than ever of being sued. And if some of these lawsuits, they've already lost some, they're already paying back a lot of money, right?
Yep.
To colleges, to families. Their back pay, there's a big lawsuit that they had to settle, and it's cost the NCAA a lot of money.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
If you keep losing lawsuits, they might not have enough money to continue to operate. Then what will happen?
Yeah.
So their lawyers right now are careful about every possible lawsuit that might come up against them, because is the next lawsuit the one that will take down the entire system? Nobody wants to see that happen. Okay?
It's heading that way, though. I mean, it's heading that way. If something doesn't happen, that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's just we're trending in a direction where the NCAA, where individual conferences might break away, and you might just have the SEC over here doing its own thing, right? Or you might have, whatever it is, whatever organization that they create, because that's where we're heading. It's why a lot of people, and Coach Cal as well, and other ADs and other coaches have said, okay, the NCAA is afraid of getting sued. We understand that, right? We understand that. But this is where Congress needs to step in and go, okay, we're going to give you some help. We're going to help out with this, okay, in whatever way we can. But right now, it's going down this path that's dangerous.
It's also, and no offense to Coach Cal and what he's said there, and I know he's not the only one that said that. You're also good. There's a slippery slope no matter which way you go, because when you give government more intervention, then it might not stop with just college athletics.
Correct. Right.
Take that government power of what you can and can't do in the work world. We're talking about employment here.
Yeah.
Employment, because these kids are getting paid to play. Okay. Whether you call it NIL or paid to play, they're getting paid a lot of money, right? So this is employment law in a sense.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
And so you're running down a slippery slope. The more power you give the government, the federal government or the state governments, in deciding what can and can't happen with money and athletes' employment, now you're running down a slippery slope that power could jump from just athletics and pro sports and college sports to other aspects of the employment world.
True.
And again, I think a lot of people don't want an overabundance of government intervention
right.
in their personal life or their employment life. So,
yeah.
I believe that Coach Cal is right in one sense, to get a lot of smart people together and come up with definitions that define what is pro and what isn't pro, and what are the limitations of college sports, college athletics, the NCAA. Because remember, even in college sports, you look at college football. We just had a championship won by Indiana against Miami in the college football playoff. But we have various levels of Division I play.
Right.
There's the FBS, the FCS. There's different levels of Division I play. It's not all the same. Mm-hmm. So the various levels are not paying all the same either.
No.
Because they can't afford to, right? So at some point, maybe it will be that you have the Power 4 or Power 5 conferences in sports in their own league.
Yeah.
they can afford, they have the 100,000 seat football stadiums, the 20,000 seat basketball arenas. I went to a small school called Charleston Southern University, who has the smallest indoor basketball facility in all of Division One. We were the doormats of Division One, but there's no way that they're ever going to pay a player $1 million to play basketball at Charleston Southern University. So as you look at the various levels, right, there's going to be the haves and the have-nots, but you have to define what is pro, what is not pro, and what kind of eligibility rules you're going to have. How many years of eligibility? Is it unlimited? I mean, here's what's funny. Your mom showed me this. Okay, I'm going to give your mom a shout out here.
I love it. Give mom a shout out.
Your mom showed me a piece that she was reading online in one of her feeds, a quote from Carson Beck, right?
Okay.
In post-game press conference. Somebody asked Carson Beck about, after that big championship win, what's it, how were you able to focus on that and go to class? And you know what? She read me Carson Beck's
he
comment.
does. He graduated 2 years ago.
He graduated 2 years ago. So
yeah.
Wait, is he a full-time pro now? Is he not in class? I thought, it was my assumption, that in order to play, you had to be a full-time student. Now, you don't have to be a full-time undergraduate student, but you certainly got to be a full-time graduate student. You have to be enrolled. But Carson Beck said, I don't go to class. I graduated 2 years ago.
But maybe that should be looked at a little further, because I remember in my days of, and I'm not trying to call out Florida or anything, but I remember the athletes, they were just, they were enrolled in whatever they needed to be enrolled in, right? That was it. It was the bare minimum, whatever they needed to do to be compliant.
Right.
So
you have to be a full-time student.
Right.
The only way you can be a part-time student is if you're in the last year of your last term to graduate.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Less than full-time requirement. But although he graduated 2 years ago, undergraduate, Carson Beck is still playing. So he's got to be a full-time student in some type of graduate program. So again, there's a big can of worms here.
And to be fair, I'm not coming at Carson Beck here or anything. I'm not coming at Carson Beck, and I don't even like Miami. You know that. So I don't even like them. So I shouldn't stick up for them. But he did say he is a graduate student. He is a graduate student. He was working towards other degrees, but those programs take a little longer than just a year to finish. So he was saying, he was like, so obviously I'm not enrolling again next semester. He is a full-time graduate student, but the programs that he enrolled in are programs that take like 2-3 years to finish. And so he's like, I'm not going to finish these.
But he's still got to have, and graduate students have to be required to have a minimum of 9 credits to be full-time.
Right.
So he had to be in 3 classes.
Right.
9 during the fall would have been 3 full-time classes as a graduate student. Right. He can't get that degree with 9 credits.
No.
It takes, a while down the road. But that's why he opened a can of worms by saying, I graduated 2 years ago. I don't go to class.
Because he's taking basket weaving 1, basket weaving 2, basket weaving 3. And they said, great, you made a basket, Carson. Go out and play football. Have a great day. That I knew players who did that, Dad. I knew players.
I will say I don't think that's what he was doing. I don't think the University of Miami offers basket weaving as a graduate program.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. It might be underwater basket weaving since they're on the coast. That's right. I apologize.
But again, you see my point.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that need adjusting.
Yeah.
Right? And again, you look right now, there are players that are in their 7th, 8th, 9th season of college sports this year.
Yes.
Because they've transferred 4 times. They sat out. Then they got hurt twice. They were injured twice. So when you look at all the reasons that you can extend your eligibility, that's where something's got to be done.
Yeah.
That's why guys go pro and say, well, you know what? I haven't used all my eligibility. I'll go back to college.
Right.
And I'll make more money. I'll make more money going back to college than I'm making right now as a look at a G League player, or how about baseball?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. If you're in the minor leagues in baseball, you're not making a whopping salary. So guess what? If you go to a Power 4 school and you're trying to win a national championship, maybe you'll make more money in college playing baseball than you will in single A or double A.
You
baseball.
can, and you have a better life too. See, this is where I talk to Arkansas players about this, right? They have a better facility, better things than minor league programs. No offense, no offense to minor leagues, but they have better facilities, better, I would even say sometimes better coaching. I mean, look at the staff DVHS. I mean, some of those guys are being asked to be coaching in the major leagues, and they say no every year. So when you have all these things in college that are going, okay, I can get paid more, I have better facilities, I have better coaches, I have a better quality of life. Why would you want to go live the minor league baseball lifestyle when you can stay in college and have a better lifestyle and maybe put yourself up for a better chance of success? I talked to a Little Rock baseball player, Dad, just the other day. Since you brought up baseball, he sat down in front of us and I said, you're a little old? And he was like, yeah, I just got granted my 7th year. My 7th year. He was going to coach for the Little Rock baseball team. He was going to coach. And Chris Curry went, hey, how about you play another year since you got granted the year? And he was like, okay, I'll play another year. It's insane to me. This guy is over here almost a coach. He's almost he's a coach. And it's just insane to me. It's insane. We could go down a rabbit hole on this. And no hate to Little Rock or Arkansas baseball. Love them. Love you, Coach Curry. Love you, Coach Van Horn. But it's just crazy. It's gotten a little bit out of hand. And I need them to just a little bit, the rules, like you said, you have to look at the system as a whole. And can you get some intellectual people in a room to sit down and just say, how do we try and get this back on the right track? Because it's not college anymore.
And Coach Cal made a great point. He said, get the people invested in the game, right? So you want to get student athletes at the table. You want to get coaches at the table. You want to get the NCAA at the table. But you know what? You better also get some lawyers at the table.
Yeah.
Sometimes those coaches and student athletes are not well versed in what is open for a lawsuit or not.
Yeah.
So again, this has become such a legal nightmare for the NCAA that again, as you said, it's definitely a rabbit hole, and it's a very deep rabbit hole that needs looking at and needs certainly defining better than it is at the moment. So I'm in the hopes, because nobody wants to see college sports go down.
Okay? Nobody.
It is an iconic institution of American life. So although we don't want college to be the NFL or the NBA, we still have those professional sports, and college kids are still aspiring to get to those professional leagues. But because of the amount of money that's now involved in the college game, there's got to be some definitions laid out that define what you can and can't do a little bit better. And again, hopefully the smart people will make those definitions so that the NCAA and the universities and the coaches and the people vested interest in the sport won't get sued every other day because of, oh, well, I need another year. Oh, I can make more money. So it is a very, very slippery slope that we've gone down, and it's going to take, I don't think it's a quick fix, Courtney.
No.
This is something that's going to take the NCAA, their lawyers, coaches, administrators, student athletes coming together, and it may be a couple of years before this thing gets completely ironed out and we figure out the best avenue forward.
I really hope they do, because I mean, as a girl who has grown up for pretty much most of my life, right? Because I grew up in England when you were coaching in the pros, but for most of my life, I've seen college athletics and from a very close standpoint, right? Just being your kid and getting to go to your college basketball games growing up and seeing you coach those players. And I saw the effect that you had on young men, whether they went on to the pros or not, right? Whether they went out and had families and they come back and they tell me, your dad meant something to me. This going through this meant something to me, changed me into the young man or young woman I am today. And so to me, that's what college athletics is truly, truly about and separates it from the pros, right? Because you're talking about young people that are just trying to grow up and be good human beings and go on to have successful lives. And to me, that's really what's special about it, right? And so I want to get back to that. I know everybody wants to get back to that. We all need to come together and do that. And Coach Cal for NCAA president to help us out with that, okay? Dad, you need to be on the board too. We'll just put you all on the board. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. They have a lot of basketball coaches there, but it'll be fine. Okay, we have seriously run out of time, but we really appreciate you. If you watch this whole episode, thank you so much for staying tuned for the entire episode of Full Courtney Press. We'll see you next Wednesday night for much more of the show. But for now, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.